Good morning. I call this hearing to order. My name is Troy Hawk, and I am one of the legal counsels for the Nebraska Department of Education, and I will be the presiding officer conducting the hearings virtually today, October 24th, 2025, using Zoom on the proposed revisions to number 1, Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 20, or Rule 20, Regulations for the Approval of Educator Preparation Programs, and number 2, Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 89, or Rule 89, Regulations and Procedures to Incentivize Distance Education. The legal notice of hearing was published for this hearing in the Omaha World Herald on September 20th, 2025. The hearing for each rule will be held separately in numerical order. To begin the hearing on each rule, a Nebraska Department of Education staff member will describe and explain the proposed rule. This will be followed by testimony by interested persons. Each person presenting written or oral testimony is requested to state and spell your first and last name and provide a general indication of where you live, the city, county, or school district. Number 2, state a concise suggestion or recommendation of what action you would like the board to take. And number 3, state the rationale or reason for your recommendation. You may reinforce, but please refrain from repeating previous testimony. Each person testifying will be limited to 5 minutes, and I will have a timer running. If additional time is needed, it may be provided at the discretion of the presiding officer. At the conclusion of all testimony from interested persons, the Nebraska Department of Education staff member who opened on the rule will have the opportunity to respond to the testimony presented today, which will conclude the testimony. The testimony presented will be recorded, and the audio recording will be made available to the State Board of Education and to the public via YouTube at the time the State Board considers the adoption of this rule. All written testimony must be submitted to the hearing official prior to 5 p.m. today in order to be made part of the record of this hearing. The email for submitting written comments is nde.rulehearing@nebraska.gov. That's nde.rulehearing@nebraska.gov. This email address may also be found on the department's website at www.education.ne.gov by following the Rules and Regulations link on the right side of the page to the public notice of upcoming rule hearings. At this time, we will begin the hearing on Rule 20, Regulations for the Approval of Educator Preparation Programs, with Brad Dirksen from the Nebraska Department of Education describing and explaining the proposed revisions. Mr. Dirksen, you may begin.
Good morning. My name is Brad Dirksen, BradDirksen. I work for the Nebraska Department of Education as an administrator for the Office of Accreditation, Certification, and Approval. I reside in the Lincoln area. The State Board of Education approved revisions to Title 92 Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 20, Regulations for the Approval of Educator Preparation Programs, Rule 20, in June of 2023, which became effective in June of 2024. In February of 2025, the Rules and Regulations Committee of the State Board of Education signaled the need for additional revisions to approval regulations and has had ongoing conversations. The Nebraska Department of Education staff received input from educator preparation program professionals, teachers, administrators, and other interested parties to identify policy issues and explore solutions since March of 2025. The department has utilized the Nebraska Council on Teacher Education, NCTE, as an advisory group to aid in the identification of policy issues, propose solutions, and provide feedback to potential revisions. NCTE is an advisory group that includes equal representation of teachers, educator preparation programs, and governance groups, a total of 48 members, 16 members per group. NCTE has met twice since March of 2025 and has provided substantial feedback to the revision process. Additionally, the department staff formed an advisory group to discuss and provide feedback regarding potential revisions. This group met in March and July of 2025. Based on stakeholder discussions and direction from the Rules and Regulations Committee, the department staff created a public input draft of Rule 20. The public input draft was posted on the department website on June 24th, 2025, which allowed for public input through July 8th of 2025. The feedback from the public input draft, including NCTE, was discussed at the August 2025 Rules and Regulations Committee meeting of the State Board of Education. Revisions to Rule 20 were made based on the public input received as directed by the State Board Rules and Regulations Committee. The purpose of the proposed revisions to Rule 20 are to, first, align Rule 20 with statutes and Rule 24 revisions. Second, increase and clarify accountability. Third, clarify literacy requirements. The current version of Rule 20 was last updated June 4th, 2024. Substantive changes contained in the draft rule revision include a revision to the technical assistance document for dyslexia, added definition for evidence-based practices in science and reading, add authority to conduct site reviews to aid in assuring compliance, clarify and increase accountability related to non-compliance, correct an error related to faculty load requirements, revise approval requirements regarding literacy, and add an approval requirement related to dyslexia as outlined in Nebraska Revised State Statute 7911, 158, and update program quality indicators to reflect changes in Rule 24 related to content tests. The department, with input from stakeholders, has identified a couple scrivener errors in section 004.06B. There are references to Rule 21 sections that need to be updated due to recent Rule 21 revisions. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Dirksen. At this time, we would invite any testimony from the public. Those testifying are asked to state and spell your name and what capacity you are testifying in. And if you would, please raise your hand via Zoom if you would like to testify. I don't see anybody indicating they would like to testify. If you're like me and you struggle raising your hand on Zoom and you would like to testify, just go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know. Thank you. I see nobody who wishes to testify. Brad, is there anything you'd like to add at this time?
No, there's not.
Thank you. This closes the hearing on the proposed revisions to Rule 20.